Hey, this is Brad with Nomad Cycles, and today for show and tell, we have this amazing Belinky hand-built long-tail cargo bicycle. And we just finished putting the CYC X1 Pro mid-drive on there. I love the install. Let's check it out. Right now I'm doing a conversion onto a long-tail bicycle with the CYC X1 Pro. It's a super power motor. And I just want to show you guys what's in the boxes. You can get this from us or from CYC. You can do it yourself or have us do it. We're a shop in Portland, Oregon, and let's check it out. So the motor and battery just came in those boxes. This is the battery. It is the coolest e-bike battery that I have found yet. It's all encased in aluminum housing. The cells are super supported. It's made for off-road mountain biking, so it can really take a hit. Here's the motor here. The system is the strongest bolt-on motor that I know of as a mid-drive that actually works well. It works really great. And this is all the parts that come with it. So it's not a lot of pieces, as you can see. This is the entirety. You got your kit, open it up. It's just a few simple things, and we're gonna put it on this bike right here. Say hi, Drift. Hey. Hello. This is Drift. He's the happy owner of the Belinky here. Belinky's a handmade brand, and this cargo bike is a gorgeous piece of art.
Thank you, Belinky.
So here we got the cranks and bottom bracket already off. That is a simple procedure. Sorry, I already did it before we thought to put a video to this, but you'll see it come together. So this is the motor we're putting on here. You can see right in that window, you see all those copper windings. This is the strongest, my most favorite motor. We're going to prep the spindle with some of the grease that comes in the package. So it's right here. With some specific attention around these two little tiny rubber grommets. And actually, as a warning, when I was pulling this out of here, those rubber grommets came off and they're delicate. So probably when you're opening this, just cut the tape and unwrap it rather than yanking it out like I did. So that's a little tip right there. So we're gonna grease the spindle. We're gonna grease the bottom bracket shell here, and then we're also going to unbolt these bolts here, move the mounting arm to the side so we can slide this piece right here into the frame right there. Okay, so I just opened that up. It was just this one, that one, and this one. See there? And we're going to slip this piece into the frame. All right. This all over those gears, so when they mesh up with the inner drive spline in there, they'll slide in nice and easy and stay sealed. is. So now it's time for spacers. Take this in these. So there's a gap between, and you got to pull this all the way up against the bike frame, and then there's our distance here that we want to bridge with these spacers. I'm running the cables right out the back, so we'll get that under the bottom bracket shelf first, and then see what we got here. It's like all of them, and maybe even those two. Nice. So we're gonna hold those in there. Feed this guy, and this is a righty-tighty here. I'll tighten it up with the socket in a second. I love how they have the motor controller bolted in right as part of it. It's this big engine, and it takes a lot of MOSFETs and electronics to make it run. So they beautifully put that big piece right there, and you can't even tell. It just seems like it's part of the system, which it is. I love that they make their own controllers, and there's an app so you can have it on your phone and change around how the throttle engages and how the delays feel, and the different kind of functions of how it's going to work with you, just off of your own phone. So as a home user, you get to play around with how it interacts, which I think is really cool. Most companies just want to set it and not give a person any kind of control over it, and I'm much more of a firm believer in DIY and right to repair and working with your own stuff. So I'm pretty glad that CYC is on that same sort of thought length. I love how doing one of these conversions to a bike rather than buying a purpose-built e-bike. I've worked in the industry long enough now that I've seen even big brands like national and international brands that make their frame around a motor, so the frame is built around a motor that's bolted in. When that motor is no longer supported with repair parts, for whatever reason, the company is not supporting that model anymore, or the company goes out of business, which definitely happens even with the big ones, then the whole bike is trashed. It's bound for the landfill. But when you take a quality motor and put it on a quality bike, and please don't take this motor and put it on a Mongoose fat bike or something that has Walmart parts with bearings that are going to fall apart and be a problem. We want to be safe and use appropriate bikes to put this kind of extra power onto. Please think about good disc brakes. Think about what your bike is going to be doing. Let's see, it's right there. But if for some reason in 15 years there's no repair parts for this motor, you can still take it off and put a different one on. But compared to all of the brands out there, like doing a conversion with this, you can get the repair parts and repair it yourself. And so it's not a black box. It's not something that is a throwaway item. It's not something that you're beholden to a certain dealer for. And even the big names let their models go unsupported at some point. So this is a future-friendly way to build your e-bike. So I'm gonna now put this collar on here from the top. It's such a simple conversion to do on your own bike. They really have provided for it to come together easily, and I think the world needs more of this. I believe in the right to repair. I believe in something that's future friendly. This is modular. You don't need their battery to work with it. It could be any battery as long as it's the right voltage, which is something that most of the industry, like the Bosch systems and Shimano and whatever, you have to have their battery to work with their motor. They have communication cables in them. And when you need to replace that battery, which will happen in like 5 to 7 years, you will need to replace this battery. You're not needing to get their battery. It can be anything that's available to you, which I think I like the modularity of it, because, you know, why, especially when you want to have, like, if maybe you want to have a giant battery and ride, you know, for days on end through the desert or to the coast or something. And, you know, like your Bosch system, they have small, tiny little batteries and small, tiny little power. And that's great for a lot of people. And I'm not trying to down any other system, because, you know, it takes all approaches. This is a revolution in transportation, which is why I'm part of it. But I like that they're not making you stuck to their stuff specifically. You know, we can use any other battery. But in this case, I mean, I love their batteries. I think they're better than any others that I've seen, as far as the aluminum case and having the cell carriers all in a certain way, so that, you know, even with big bashes and crashes and whatever, everything's going to be safe. But their biggest battery, well, they have 3 batteries now. They have a new one, but it's 15 amp hours, which isn't going to get you to the coast and back from Portland. Anyways. So that's the basic of putting the motor on. Already done. Woo! We're gonna torque this down to 40 to 50 Newton meters on the left hand side, and we're going to move on to putting a battery here. So this is, most batteries, most bikes just have the front triangle, and you work with the water bottle balls. Please, when you're putting a big battery onto a frame, don't trust 2 holes to attach it. I hate it when I see people do that. I have seen multiple frames broken where this chunk comes out of that top tube, and it doesn't need to be like that. Just give it 3 bolts. There's more, or a band clamp. CYC's battery is expecting you to use 2 bolts, and then they supply a clamp for the 3rd part. It's perfect. If you're using a different third-party battery, please add an additional hole, which I will show you how to do in this video. We'll pop in holes over here. Add an additional hole, or buy one of the aluminum plates that has the threaded holes and put it on with band clamps. Don't just trust the 2 water bottle Boss holes. I mean, maybe it's tempting to save a little time, but in the long run, if you're actually out using this bike, there's a good chance, especially if it's a bigger battery, there's a good chance you're gonna have a problem. So please, use a good bike to put the good motor system onto. B, use multiple mounting spots to put your battery on so that it doesn't rip your frame off. So now we got a new heart on this bike. I love it. This is a pretty cool work of art. There's a specific basket that bolts onto these tabs here, which is why they're sticking out, and then there's a foot deck that goes on it. It's not with the bike right now, they'll be put back on afterwards. I love this pinstriping, check this out. It's pretty cool. I love hand-built bikes. We've started our own hand-built bike frame making with a separate video. I don't want to take away from this Balinky, old school, cool. Balinky is definitely one of the masters in the world. I hope he sees this. Anyways, and I hope he doesn't mind that we're putting electric power to it. This is about transportation and viability for making cycling part of more people's lives for everyday use. This can carry kids, can carry groceries, and can do all the things. And the CYC motor, definitely my favorite in the industry. And it's pretty, I don't know, what do you say? That's industrial kind of style with that extra chain there and everything. Very steampunk. Yeah, we'll see it. To get the torque on there. Luckily it's got this great kickstand. It's got the there it goes, 46 foot-pounds. Just like that. And now we're on to locating the battery. So, what did I just do with it? There it is. It's in front of me. These brackets are from Extra Cycle, and you can see they're like kind of a offset piece. And this fits the contour of the tubing. We'll come over here. And when they're set on the frame, it offsets the battery mount to the left side because the bicycle chain is going to come here. So we can't just put the battery right on here. We need to set it over. And these, we're going to put 3 of them in, and they'll just put the battery off to the side. All right, now it's time to put this guy in here. We got it all greased up. Let's see that. You can see the spline in here. I'm not going to move the camera around to see that. We're just going to put it in. I'll turn it around a little bit until it's, there it goes. Be real careful with that seal. Sometimes they break the little rubber seal I showed you earlier. Okay, there it is. And they're tight. Use a rag and wipe away the excess grease. I'll open up the next pack here. And we got these little squeezers. I'll use one of the thin ones. Get a little grease on it. And it's time to put on this lock ring. Let's go over here. I'm going to use the threaded part in. Turn this. Oh, that's true. And you can, there's this hole right here. You use that to adjust the tension. You want it to slip easily, but not be loose. It feels like a little bit of extra drag. So I'm just gonna back it off a tiny bit. Feels pretty good. So tighten it up right there, and we'll put on the crank arm. When you put on the crank arms, if you look at the back side of them, one of them has a R175 and the other one says L175. L means your left hand, so that would be this one. And R means your right hand, that'd be that one. And it does matter, definitely, because you can't put the pedals in crisscross. Some of the grease packet. The threads here. Oh, and we're going to want to use some spacers. Let's see where this actually tightens up to and see how many spacers we want to put in there. So, see that kind of gap right there? I'm going to put some of those spacers in there. That looks good. So 2 of them, one thicker one and smaller one. Now we're gonna have to use the crank extractor probably. Let's see. Yep. Drop in. All right, that looks good. So now we're gonna see how that battery lines up with this crank arm so there's no interference. Offset dealio we're gonna put on there. Puts it right about there. Let's see. Yep, we're gonna clear. That's so good. That. Oh yeah, lots of clearance. So now we can go ahead and you're gonna see the procedure of putting water bottle bolts into the frame. So if you need to put extra water bottle bosses into your frame so that you can bolt to them, this is what's called a rivet nut. Let's see if that focuses there. So these little serrations, when you compress it, they waffle out and grab the tubing so that it's adding these threads. Let's see the threads. Can you see the threads? They're there. They're there. So then those threads are in your frame, and you add that to it with this simple tool. It just pulls. You see that action? It pulls the rivet nut after you've threaded it on here, and mounts a water bottle boss into your frame. So this is a pretty simple tool. This one's done thousands and thousands maybe, because sometimes we just need to add our own holes in there. Okay, so also, so we're gonna need some of these, and you can get them. Here's a pack, Sharex. That's what they look like. I just get them from McMaster Car. Anybody can look up McMaster Car. They have every single piece of hardware in the world, and they get to you in about a day. So for you home installers out there, McMaster Car is your friend. Check them out. So we need this, and you can buy this tool from them too, or from me. So you get this rivet nut installation tool. You're gonna need a drill, and you're gonna want 3 different drill bits to get up to the diameter of the rivet nut. So we're going to start small, drill your pilot hole and make it a little bit bigger, and then the final size. Hole punch and ball peen hammer. That's about it. Let's check out the next phase. And it's got a mounting tray. And you see, I love this beefy connector. That way it doesn't lose connection even when you're going over big bumps. And it locks in right here. And then there's a lock with a key so that you can lock with a key right here. Pushes this piece up so you can leave it on your bike and not have to worry about it being gone after you come out of the grocery store or something. So I absolutely love this battery. Now they made it so that there's holes for your water bottle boss that's usually on the frame, and then a slot where you put a hose clamp through. They provide these hose clamps. That gives you 3 points of good engagement. Since we're doing something a little alternative, we're gonna put in 2 holes here and here into the frame, and then we're gonna make a third one. We'll go ahead and drill in this bracket so that these guys line up right. If you're, and I'm pretty sure that you're not doing the same thing, so you're like, why am I watching this? Well, same situation. If we're looking at, just go ahead and look at this. So if we're mounting onto the water bottle holes that are provided, they can often be not lining up. So these ones are pretty far up here. Your battery might be hitting this, so you're going to want to move it back a little bit. You might need to add a hole, or which we're going to show you, or you could use one of these from Grin Technologies, this ebikes.ca. They're in Canada, in Vancouver, Canada, not far from us here in Portland. Fantastic group of people doing electric bikes since before the industry really took off, and they're still going strong. I think they're the OGs in the e-bike world at this point, and doing a lot of amazing things. This mount goes on with band clamps, so it's super solid. Has a V shape in the back, so it mounts with your tubing really well, and then you can bolt into it. So you can get one of these. It's not very much money. You cover up the hose clamps with these black pieces of rubber so that you can't really tell, you can't see the metal in the final install, and highly suggest this. But for our point on this bike, we're gonna go ahead and mount it down here low, so keeping the lower the weight, the better the ride. So we're gonna go with that. So I'm starting with a small bit first to drill the pilot hole. It helps to have short ones if you're in the middle of this triangle, and that way you got a long drill bit could get in the way. First one in. Next one. So we go with the 3 sizes because the hole can kind of walk back and forth and you want to get it even. Now I'm going to the next size up. I'm going to bring it a little bit more to this side just to keep it in line. And the last one, we use the same size as the rivet that's going to go in there. So these are 2 of the same diameter. And that is beautiful. So next up, we're going to use this tool. We thread the rivet up on there with a little bit of slack so that we can reach the handle around in our hand and just squeeze it with it in plane. Then add a little bit more tension. Okay, check that out. Now there is an M5 threaded hole in the frame. And that'll mount on there like that. We're going to go ahead and mount that up, double check this one, and do a transfer punch so that we know that these line up exactly, one at a time. There's a little bit of wiggle room. Let's see what that looks like. Sweet.
Nice job, Blanky, with the pinstriping. Thank you for the guide.
I'm just going to use this to describe to mark a line in there. Take it off and do it again.
Do you want to look at it with the battery on, or pretty happy with it?
I mean, I'm pretty happy with it, but we will take it out. gonna look like.
Looks pretty good.
And they do have a little bit of slack to go back and forth when we're done.
Oh, we will ixnay on that. Me say hi. You kidding? Anti-social me.
Closer. It's looking good. Off the third one. The scribe here. That is how you make it possible to bolt something to your bicycle without taking away from the integrity of the frame, especially on the top side of the tube. And when you're having forces like this, the top side is compressing where the bottom side is spreading. So putting holes in the bottom side is actually worse. It's better to put the threaded bosses on the top. And being a round hole with the compression in it is still as structurally integral as it was before. Oh yeah, we can. Nice. We can still get into the side to do the final adjustments. Get these little guys on here. Take the sides. If we want to put Loctite in there, we could. I don't think it's an issue, actually, in a lot of cases, greasing the threads does a lot for getting it tighter. It seems like it might not make as much sense, but putting grease on the threads allows the threads to engage more and slip a little bit further, which pulls the metal tighter, which is what I did for these bottom ones. If you Loctite them in there, you might have a hard time getting them out later if you ever need to.
Good call.
Okay, now we're gonna test it out with the battery. See what that looks like. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Check out that line. On the base, I'm gonna take these 3 off, take this off, tighten those with the full power of the L shape instead of the ball end, and then we'll bolt it off for good and start working on the cranks and the wiring. They have us put this spacer here, side of the crank arm. I'll put a little grease on there first. And this is, make sure you got the R for the right hand side and the L for the left hand side. That's going to matter a lot when you put the pedals on. Staggered right and up and down. Then also put grease on this guy. I like that they have a real strong return side spring now. Keep that thing tension. This chain is super industrial and thick. It's gonna outlast several regular bicycle chains. But it will wear out, and you can easily buy replacements. Not only from us or another CYC dealer, but it's a regular industrial chain that you can buy from any industrial supply place, like maybe McMaster Car. Okay, so. Oh, voila! We're done with the motor and battery. Look at that! Look at that! Look at that! Check it out. We're gonna need a speedometer extension cable because it plugs in right here by the controller. But we need to get it all the way over here by the spokes of the rear wheel. So come back up with that in a second. Then got this guy. It's probably gonna go under the down tube to make that length make sense. And all that needs to attach to that is the throttle and the display, and we're done. We usually put the throttle on the left side because you're shifting on the right. So we'll pop this guy on here. I really love that, but it is ambidextrous. I really love that the whole thing flips over. You don't have to take your handlebars off, but I mean your grips off. It's up to you whether you put it inside or outside of the brake lever. Put it right there. Finalize that position after we get the grips on. And the display has a remote button for going up and down, your power levels, and the menu.
Good. Perfect.
Let's swap it out. When you're putting these together, there's a little key slot in one side, and a slot in one side and a key in the other, and they fit in really tightly, and you want to, and those pins are really delicate, so you want to make sure it's lined up. So make sure that slot goes in first, and then just like that. When you try to pull apart, they're pretty stuck. You gotta really pull. So if you gotta take it apart like that, it's kind of a lot of work, which means it's not going to come undone while it's just sitting on your bike. So make sure that key gets in there really well, perfectly lined up. Same thing over here. It's a lot farther in there. There's two arrows on this one. You see this arrow on that. Make sure that the arrow lines up with this arrow. And don't force it if it's not going in right. So if we look at the battery in here, there's a on-off switch. So go ahead and hit that. It should show your blue lights for indicators. That's your on-off. That's your charger port. That's a USB-C right here, so you can plug in a phone or whatever for your GPS or whatever you need to charge. So let's turn that on. Then close it for waterproofness. And with that on, hold the orange button here. For a few seconds, the display comes up. And if you look at the display, we can control what level it's on, and we'll hit the U. Check it out. That's gonna go. That's gonna go real fast. Huzzah! It's alive!
It's live.
It's alive. All right, now we're gonna take our time and run these cables nicely along with the other cables to make it look good. And we'll see what we can come up with to stay with the beauty of this bike and do it justice with our install and the beauty of this motor system. You can just wrap it up and zip tie it to the thing and then be done. But we don't want it getting caught on anything. We want it to be free from shorts and pinch points. So we want the cables to flow with something else where they're being held, so they're not getting a lot of wiggle in one spot. You definitely don't want to put these joints like next to something where they're going to be moving back and forth, because that'll develop a short there. And yeah, I'm going to fiddle around with it, and then we'll show you what we come up with. When we're tightening up the wires, it's really nice to have a couple of different sizes of zip ties. So I got some long ones or medium-sized ones to go around the frame, and some skinny small ones to hold the wires to the wires. So if you check out over here, I'm gonna run these two together right here. So when I do that, I'll show you another trick. So we got this like that, right? If you have a regular pair of side cutters, which would be something similar in profile to this, where it's beveled on both sides, you're gonna cut that, and it's gonna have a sharp pointed edge that'll poke anybody that touches it. And we don't like that, so we get some flush cut pliers, flush cut nippers. The one side is completely flat, not a bevel, and the bevel is all on the other side. So when I cut this, well, this one's cut a lot of wires. I'll get a different new one in a second. But anyways, when you cut that, now it's flush. I also like to, I mean, it's silly, but I like to make sure that the ends are, I always go the same direction around, so all the ends look the same. There we go. I'm going to run those together, and I'm going to run these two together. To be honest, just see this right here. I just caught myself. This is not going to work. We do not want this joint to be where it's catching that stress. So I'm gonna reroute it here. There's always slack, no matter what position the wheel's in. Sometimes when you're putting grips on, it really helps to use just some Aquanet hairspray. It makes them so they slide on nice, and then when it dries, they stick. When you're taking grips off, it helps to use alcohol, like 99% rubbing alcohol, and you can like stick a screwdriver in it and kind of pull it open a little bit, and then spray the alcohol in there, and that will allow it to come loose and slide off. Okay, it's all looking pretty good. Maybe swap this to the inside. Okay. So up next, we're going to put the speed sensor. So this is a magnet that goes on the spokes. We're going to put the spoke into the slot here and then screw this back down. And then this is going on the frame right here, so that the spoke magnet, say there's the magnet, it's coming across, goes next to that black little pad. The pad, so this will be on here, this will be here. You can loosen up the screw and this will slide in and out so that we can get this to pass closely. There'll be a little light here that will blink as the magnet goes past to let you know it's close enough. So we'll put zip ties through here and onto the frame, and we have a couple choices. For extension cables, because this frame is a long tail cargo bike, it needs a longer extension. I think that the smaller one is going to be the good choice, but we're going to line it up first, get this on there and see what works out. If you're ordering and you have a long tail cargo bike or another kind of bike like a recumbent or something that's long, you need to think about it ahead of time, what length of cable we're going to need to go between here and here. Alright, we're putting this spoke magnet and pickup sensor here. Run the zip ties through the slot. Spoke magnet. You'll notice the one spoke is in front of the other spoke, so it's a little closer there. We'll go ahead and start with that one. Make sure I get a good grip on there, and then adjust this. Then if we look from the top, we look down here, see that's passing close to the pad there. The long one's way more than enough. The short one's too short, so we'll use the long one and we'll just coil up a little of the excess. So find those arrows like that. Keep that cable out of the way so it doesn't get caught up in anything. I'm gonna fish this line through here, connect the dots with the cable, arrows. This one's got 2 keys in there. That's our speed sensor. And then I'll use this compartment here to hide our excess. So just keep going with touching this guy. And because this is the closest part to the ground, it might get scraped on something. I'm just going to keep it off of the bottom side.
What if you ran it through the top side there?
All the way up in here.
Yeah, on the other side of the bracket.
I could do that.
Maybe.
Oh, that's nice. Wow. Nothing but pro. Looking good. Oops. All right, maybe one more. There and there. And we're gonna just run a new 9-speed chain on here. I usually replace the chain when we do a conversion. Oftentimes the chain ring lengths don't match up or whatever. Also, you know, a worn chain is an issue, and we don't want to be wearing out the cassette. It's important when you're riding these. When you start out from a stop sign or going up a hill, please put it into the low gear, and not just leave it in the highest speed all the time, because the highest speed has the smallest number of teeth. Let's go ahead and look at that while we're talking about it. So this bigger teeth chain ring on here is the lowest gear. That's for hill climbing, and it has the most surface area of contact with the chain and is the least likely to wear out. Whereas the highest speed for the fastest gear is the smallest tooth part of the sprocket. And that is gonna, if you're trying to climb a hill in the smallest sprocket, it's gonna bend over those teeth. It's gonna wear them out faster. So when you start to climb a hill, put it in a lower gear, just like when you're pedaling. And when you start from a stop at a stop sign, put it into a lower gear, just like you're pedaling. When you're get going, you bring up your RPMs, you change to the faster gears consecutively, then you get into your higher gear and you got your top speed. But you're not meant to accelerate in the highest gear. Just like a car, you start in first. Mm-hmm. So we're going to replace the chain, so it's got a new start with this new life here with the electric heartbeat, and then we're going to be on the road. All right, so now we're going to put a new chain on here, and I'll walk you guys through that. It's going to take a couple of chains because of the long tail, and we're going to put them together. We got pliers to put them together, pliers to take them apart, chain tool to break the chain, and a little squiggly spoke that I twisted up so that it can hold the chain in place while I do that. So let's get started. And if you need any incidentals like this, I can send them in the mail with your kit. So if you see this chain comes with these two little links. They're going to fit together. And the end of these, so one goes in one, and the other one goes in opposite like that, and then they click together like so, and you use this special plier to pull them tight. So that's how that works. When you need to cut the chain with the chain tool, you're going to cut one of these outer links by pushing the pin through, and you're going to what we want is two of the inner links together. So we'll show you as that comes together. This tool takes them back apart. Of course, I lost the others. So I'll just go ahead and start by putting these two together. You don't have these tools already, like the chain pliers and chain breaker. It's something that's good to have even after you've done this job. So, because you are going to want to replace the chain every 700 something miles. And you never know, something could happen on the road or whatever, and you'll need to repair it. I mean, of course, local bike shops can help you with whatever you need. But if you're like me, you like to be able to kind of do your own maintenance. It's an essential tool. So I'm going to, I want to get it perfect. I'm going to set up. Go under the lower pulley. Over. Oh, watch out for this little tab. A lot of people, being novice, will put the chain right over that, and then once it's all together, it's just rubbing and scraping on it. So put it between the wheel and the tab, over that little jockey wheel, over the cassette. Now, if you look at the top down here, so this chain ring that's provided from CYC is narrow wide. So one tooth is wider and the one tooth is skinnier. And if you look at the profile of the chain, so in between here is wider and in between there is skinnier. So it has to match up with the skinny and wide. So now we got that threaded here. I'm going to suggest, well, okay, I got a little bit ahead of myself. What I want to do is we're going to put it in the lowest gear, the biggest sprocket, to see where that lines up, because that's where we want to, and the biggest to biggest is where we want to cut the distance so that we know it can go from into big to big. So I'm going to go ahead and just change that. To the lowest gear, which is the biggest cog. There's one more. Now, you see, we don't really want a lot of excess slack, because if it's sitting there like this right now, and we cut it right there, when we get into the faster gear, this derailleur arm is going to be sitting like that, and it's going to be bouncing around. So what we want to do in the lowest gear, we're going to want to make it tight, so there's not a lot of slack. So I'm gonna just not like super. I'm gonna go for right there, and that way there's not a lot of extra bouncing around. So I'm gonna go ahead and break it right here. And this little spoke thing that I made is gonna help me. Hold this in position. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and do one less, and we can always go back. Better to err on the side of a little bit extra, but not a lot. We want to cut out most of it. I'm gonna go ahead and just push that pin all the way through. Yeah, that looks totally good. So this holds our slack here, so now I can play with it without trying to hold them together. It's a super pain in the butt otherwise. And we got two more of these little doohickeys. So one goes in one way, one comes in the opposite way, and we put them together. And use our plier tool, and voila, just like that. So let's see, we'll play and go through all the gears and see what it looks like. So it's a long chain line. If we didn't cut that slack, it would be even worse. So this is the fastest gear right here. And I mean, I really don't like that extra slop, but let's see what we look like when we get into the easiest gear. And if we got any room to take some out. Basically, if we cut that, we'd have to take that whole section out. So let's see what that looks like. You really want to make sure that both sides of that are connected in and they're solid, because we're going to be putting a lot of power through this chain. You don't want it to break. Let's try getting into the first gear again. Okay. And then see if that made any difference. I mean, it's not going to get any better than that. It's going to work for us. So that's how you put on a new chain and cut it to length. I'm going to do a little derailleur adjustment on there. That's not going to be in the video. I recommend checking out, if you're needing to do basic things like derailleur adjustments, brake adjustments, and what like that, check out Sheldon Brown and check out Park Tool. Park Tool has a lot of videos. Sheldon Brown is the famous wizard of all things bike. So those two references will be good for you. So all right, we got the chain on. I'm going to go ahead and put some pedals on and do the gear adjustment. I can hear that brake rubbing a little bit. We're going to take care of that, do a little fine tunings, and then it's time for a test ride.
Yay.
All right, so when you put your pedals on, a couple of things. You probably just took your pedals off before you're putting this on, so you've already found out, but maybe you're watching this beforehand, and that's great. So there's definitely a side to each pedal. There's a right and a left. They don't always say that on them. Sometimes they say an L and an R. This pair doesn't. But I do like these pedals. They're stamped pedals from Crank Brothers. And definitely a wide platform with some sticky spikes is great for this kind of application. So the threads are going to be on towards the front of the bike. That way they don't come off as you're pedaling. So that means one of them is going to be left-hand thread and one of them is right-hand thread. Definitely use a little, ooh, what's that hair on it?
Ew.
What is that? That's gross. Get out of there. Use a little grease, and sometimes there'll be a pedal flat and you'll need a thin wrench to fit it with 15 millimeters, and it'll fit on like that. This time these don't have a flat like that. You have to use an 8 millimeter hex key. So I can tell just by looking at these threads that they go on to the right. So I'm going to put the hex key through the pedal, through the crank arm, and spin it to the right. And when you're tightening something with the ball side of an Allen key, you don't really get it as tight as you want it. So to finish it up, use the L and the leverage. And give it a good snug. So then we're going on to the next one. Now this one is lefty tighty. And there we got some pedals. Oh, it looks so good. I love this system, and I love this bike. So now let's check it out. Well, I think the battery's still on. Hold the power button. Displays up. Woo.
Whoa.
Woo. Starting to load here. Ready? And we're reading the speed, so we know we're close enough on that magnet. Let's just look at that real quick. Let's look at this magnet. So, careful if the bike is on. Careful, don't put your finger in anything like a disc brake or something in case it accidentally turns on. So you can see that light comes on and off as we cross over it. And you can use this screw and bring this pad back and forth, but you can also kind of rotate it on the chainstay to get it closer to that magnet. So that's where you want the magnet at, right there. I'm gonna hit that gas one more time just to see. Ooh, yeah. And we'll start sticking. Pretty cool. Thank you.
A lot of wobble in that.
Thank you, CYC. This machine is amazing.
Got a nice hop in that back wheel.
So here it is, all done, freshly electrified. This horse is ready to run. Look at this gorgeous thing. So you can see there's like these tabs sitting here that's made for a big basket that goes across the back. It's not here right now, which also the foot decks aren't here right now. But we just finished this install, and this is a very strong motor. If you're carrying gear, carrying kids, carrying whatever, there is not going to be more help that you can bolt onto your bike than this. It's the X1 Pro from CYC, and I'm really proud of the way that this install came together, looking so clean, because it's a gorgeous bike made by Belinky, one of the upper echelon of frame builders in American frame builders, and didn't want to do disservice to the bike while adding electricity. And I think this is a win. For one thing, I love how we were able to get this battery on here clean without a lot of zip ties and wires hanging out. There's a wire that goes to the speed pickup back here, and I just tucked it up in the thing. So it's nice and clean looking. These I borrowed from Extra Cycle. They make those brackets for their bikes. Luckily, it fit the same diameter of tubing here. Look at that pinstripe in there. Can you see that? So cool. So many details on this bike, like this cross section where all these pieces intersect. It's so fun. What an interesting machine. So look at that. So dope. It's so dope. So thank you, Belinky, for making awesome stuff, and thank you, CYC, for making my favorite motor system. And thank you, Luck, that it came together looking so good. So this is just an example. You can do this too. I hope that my instructions made sense. If you got any questions with them, please just email me, reach out to the shop. Our contact info is in the description. So there is the finished beauty. I don't have a way to really video it being ridden right now, but at least I got to catch it before it gets picked up. We might add a video of it being ridden by the end, but if not, you get to see its glamour shots. Such a cool frame and put together with nice pieces. The CYC looks pretty good on here. This Jones bar's dope. Even their throttle is like a good one. A lot of companies cheap out on this kind of stuff, but these guys are on it. So you can see, we'll hold the pedal still. That's what it sounds like when it's running. It's actually a lot quieter when you're on the road. And also if you're running with just pedal assist, I don't need to get into describing CYC. You can look at some of the other videos, but it is torque sensing, so it feels how much you're pushing and gives you help accordingly. And it's amazing. It just feels really good. So if you want to get to where you're going feeling good about how you got there, CYC is a motor that makes that possible, as well as several others, but this one's my favorite. And thank you for watching. Good luck on your build. Let me know if you have any questions.